Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. It's 5 o'clock sharp. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to turn my chat box on here so that we can chat with each other. Hello. You shouldn't have to. Looks like we've got a lot of folks who need to join us still. We are expecting a full 250 participants. So we will just take one little minute to let them get on. My name is Shelley Hornback. I'm our Director of Community Relations, and I am typing my email address in the chat box. Feel free to follow up with me if there's anything that I can help you with after this town hall. Good, we've got a few more people joining. Great to see our numbers growing. We're expecting a variety of participants this evening. From what we could tell from the reservations, we think a good majority of our participants tonight are family members, maybe parents or guardians. But we also have some staff members on the line this evening. So thank you to everyone who's joining this. Of course, our town halls are a welcome opportunity for all of our stakeholders to hear directly from Superintendent Gunning about Litchfield Elementary School District's operations in the era of COVID. We've got a few more people joining here. I'm going to just give them a little bit of time to jump on because the number looks a little bit low. I don't want anyone to have any technical difficulties. Obviously, this is quite a large space or room, so you are automatically muted by our system. A good way to communicate is through our chat box. So please feel free to enter your questions and comments there. In a moment, we will review our housekeeping items and then get going with our town hall about school reopening. Okay. Hopefully some folks will jump on late, no problem at all. They'll be able to catch up. This is being recorded. We may add this to our YouTube channel later on this week. So please keep that in mind. All of our chat box comments will be saved for future use. So we'd like for you to know that in advance. We'd like to explain, first of all, how our town hall event will flow or what you can expect from this hour. I'm Shelley Hornback, happy to be your proctor or your facilitator today. We also have some guest experts that we'll be introducing in a moment. Thank you so much to all of you for your wonderful questions that have been flowing in. Our COVID@LESD email is active. We're hearing from a lot of you, and we really, really appreciate you helping make sure that we are well supported as we try and examine every angle of this situation. So your job tonight, and as we move forward, is to keep the good questions coming. That's what we need from you, please. Your engagement and your connection helps ensure that we're meeting your needs and the needs of our community. So we really do appreciate hearing from you. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to type right here just so that we're clear the address for our COVID account. Now, we have heard that this account does not work, and we're a little confused by that because it does. So if for some reason you're getting a kickback message, I would recommend that you don't copy and paste. There was a little bit of glitch for some users that way, but type directly in that address, covid@lesd.k12.az.us. That's the best way to reach us about this topic. And we know it's working because we had about 1,400 emails in about 4 days. So it does work. Please know that. And you will now get an automatic vacation response so that you'll know that your message was received to help minimize any confusion. This is a really popular event. It filled up in about 40 minutes, roughly. So thank you. A lot of districts are struggling to hear from their families and their stakeholders, and this is something that we really enjoy at Litchfield, is a highly engaged community. So thank you so much for being active and involved. We really appreciate you diving in and partnering with us on this work. But what that does mean is we have a lot of stakeholders who didn't get into this session or the next one. So we are working now to find a platform to allow for more people on the next opportunity. So we'll be in touch with some of our friends who weren't able to join us tonight. Of course, we will be on YouTube later on this week, but we are also looking for a platform to accommodate more folks. So thank you for the popularity of this event, and we'll be in touch with the friends who were not able to get in on this event. A friendly reminder, in case you do become unmuted for some reason, you need to just stay on mute to minimize any feedback or background noise. That's just really helpful, especially if you're in close proximity to someone else who is also on the same call. That could cause a lot of feedback. So we're going to pause for one moment. See if we have any questions just from there, just about our guidelines and our housekeeping. And type fast because we're going to move on. But I see our first comment direct from Governing Board Member Elaine Weathersby. Thank you so much, Director Weathersby. We really appreciate your involvement. We're so glad to have you on the line. Okay, we're going to pause just one moment.
Do we have to be allowed into the meeting? I keep getting a message that someone has to let me in.
It looks like someone's trying to say something. If you could type that into the chat box, that would be helpful. And what we're seeing is that there are some folks who are trying to receive access to get in on this call. So we're working on that right now as well. So they will be included in just one moment. And the good news is this is all being recorded, so they really haven't missed anything at all. Just some introductory material. So for those of you who are just jumping on, welcome. So very glad to have you. Thank you very, very much. Our teachers use a social emotional learning framework called conscious discipline. This is our tool district-wide to build strong school families. They use rituals from conscious discipline every day with students so that students can feel safe and loved, so then they can access their brilliance at school. We also start all of our meetings, our administrative meetings and our staff meetings with conscious discipline rituals. So we're going to do that now, very briefly. We have something called Wish Well, where we think about people who might need a little extra support or love, and we hold them close in our hearts, and we send them our best thoughts and best wishes, and we wish them well. So if you have anyone that you would like to wish well, please feel free to put that in the chat box. Sometimes that could be a family member or a colleague or anyone that you want to give special love to right now. We would like to wish well to Representative Joanne Osborne of Legislative District 13. She has tested positive for COVID, and we're going to put her in our hearts to wish her well for a speedy recovery. And we also want to wish all of you and your family members well. We know this is a tough time, and we know some folks are sick. So for both of those reasons, we're putting you and your family in our hearts to wish you well. So with that, part of our conscious discipline ritual is to take a deep breath and then send our best thoughts and wish well to those people. That's our wish well ritual to promote social emotional learning in our schools. Thank you very much. Another ritual that we use in our schools is celebrations. So today we want to celebrate the Hot Community Foundation, Helping Others Thrive. Community Foundation has donated more than 1,000 masks to us. And those are for our staff members to protect themselves when we return to in-person learning. So we celebrate them. We also celebrate our brand new website. And we're going to have an opportunity to review that in just a moment. So thank you for that. Now we are ready to dive into our town hall. So let's begin with some introductions. Of course, we have Superintendent Gunning with us. She's the star of our show, and she is going to take all of your Q&A. Really appreciate that. Her guest experts this evening are Melissa McComb. Melissa is the Director of Special Education, and she's a board-certified behavior analyst. Not a lot of those out there, but Melissa's that for us right here at Litchfield School District. She's, of course, an expert in social emotional learning and conscious discipline as well, and an ardent champion of students. So we're very fortunate to have Melissa McComb on the line with us as a guest expert this evening, and also our district lead nurse, Rebecca Shear. She's affectionately known as Nurse Becca at Verado Middle School, but she is the lead nurse across the district. She's been with us for 5 years. She's been a registered nurse for 18 years in a variety of healthcare settings, including in-home healthcare, hospitals, and nurse training settings. So we'll hear more from Nurse Becca later on. For now, let's go ahead and dive into some of this content. What we're going to do now is a screen share, and I want to introduce you to our brand new website. And let's see. We just added some new content to our website. And I want to make sure that you've got access to this because there are some new items that we want to make sure you're familiar with. So there, it looks like you can see our brand new website. Take some time to dig around through here when you're ready, but keep in mind, please, that a lot of our school sites are still under construction. Our webmasters are on summer break. Some have been able to work on their schools, and others are going to dive right in quickly to get those up to speed really fast. So some sites might be under construction. You can contact the webmasters down at the bottom of this screen if you want to request anything specific. But for now, we're in this section. We're in the top right. We're looking at the COVID section. You're going to drop down to our menu here, and tonight we're looking over here at our helpful resources. Want to bring attention to the learning models that we're going to review this evening. And we'll also be reviewing our health and safety measures. This is brand new, and you probably haven't seen much of this yet. We'll get there in a moment. For now, we're going to briefly look at our learning models. This is pretty similar to what you've been seeing from email messages from Superintendent Gunning in the past. It's 8 slides, and it gives us an overview of the in-person learning model, which is K through 8, 5 days a week in the classroom. We've got our Digital Learning Academy, which is 100% online. That is new to us this year, and this is viable and guaranteed curriculum that's been approved by our school district. This is strong. We are very proud of the teacher training that's gone into this work, and we are excited to roll this out for our community. The hybrid learning model, of course, is new, unique to the COVID era. So again, that's K-8, 5 days a week with kids in the classroom 2 days a week and online 3 days a week. We'll talk more about these later, so you can hear directly from Superintendent Gunning. If you scroll all the way down, you will find a link to access board meetings as you choose, and again, that COVID email address that you can use anytime. I'm going to exit out of here and bring your attention to a really important new link on our website. So just for fun, let's go again from our home page to help you get familiar with this. Top right is our COVID section. You're going to drop down to helpful links and resources. When you get there, you'll find the brand new health and safety measures that were just posted to our website a few moments ago. This is a 5-page document that we will be discussing today. So you'll find our bus safety information. Let you review this at your convenience, but it is emphasizing clean buses, masks and face coverings on students and staff. Face shields are acceptable. There's also a piece that emphasizes that we need, in our vehicle information section, that we need you to keep your students in the car until the bus arrives, right? Please don't just drop off your children at the bus stop. Please wait with them, and ideally wait with them in the car. That reinforces social distancing, and it allows our staff members to help examine each child as they get on the bus, to visually check on them and take their time letting students enter the bus and make sure that kids are looking and feeling safe. Okay, there are a lot of safety measures built in here with disinfecting, and you can read some of those details. Our drivers and student transporters will be disinfecting the bus and ensuring social distancing. If we scroll down a little bit more, of course, we're not going on field trips until it's safe, and that's something that we will be enforcing very easily if you haven't heard that that's a concern for anyone. Scrolling down to face coverings, yes, face coverings are required. We are expecting all students and staff to wear face coverings when social distancing is not possible. You'll see more health and safety standards about our food services. We will not be sharing any food. Please help your children understand that before in-person learning begins. The children are welcome, of course, to bring meals from home, but lunch is also an opportunity for them at school. They will be eating in classrooms, cafeteria, gym. It kind of depends where they eat based on the schedule of that grade and that school. So the specific lunch guidelines will come from your school when those are ready to be rolled out. Hand washing. All of our classrooms have either a hand washing station or a hand sanitizer station. We're going to work closely with students to help them understand when hand washing is expected. And you'll see a list a variety of times there. We've got more here on our school health screenings. Again, you're going to be able to review all of this on your own and ask follow-up questions with Superintendent Gunning and Nurse Becca later on. We're intensifying our cleaning and disinfecting, of course. Classroom touchpoint areas are disinfected multiple times throughout the day, and so are the bathroom touchpoint areas. That's really important. This is new to us. We're encouraging children not to share. We don't share lunch, we don't share belongings, and we're going to help them understand why that's important. We've got signs and messages all over all of our buildings and schools to help everyone promote health and safety. Of course, we're promoting social and physical distancing. We'll have signs in the rooms. Teachers and principals are thinking of fun ways and effective ways to help children understand how far they need to be apart from each other. This might be a tape, painter's tape on the ground is something that I've heard a lot about. And then switching out our air filters all the time. Lots of good information here, so please read through it thoroughly. And no, we cannot have visitors or volunteers when it is time to begin in-person learning. We just won't be ready for that. But when we are ready, we will let you know. And in the meantime, we encourage you to follow your local parent organization, your PTA or PTO, to find ways to engage and support and serve that are not on the campus. There will be opportunities for that as well. So that's our general overview. Thank you for celebrating our brand new website with us. I'm going to close that and stop presenting. Okay, thank you so much. That's a brief introduction. I'd love to introduce to you the star of our show, Superintendent Jody Gunning, to give her own personal introduction.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to, if you could give me a thumbs up, can you hear me? I know in the last one it was a little staticky. Perfect. Well, welcome to this evening, and I'm so grateful that you are here, and I hope that we can answer some of your questions, and I know that there probably are questions that we will not be able to get to, but I just want to thank you for attending. I've been with the district for over 18 years, and this is my going into my fourth year as superintendent, and so I'm just so proud of our district and definitely so tremendously committed. My children travel through the district. They're grown adults now, and I'm actually a West Valley native, so I really haven't traveled very far. So this community is so very important to me. So I want to thank you so much for joining. We're going to dig into lots of different pieces tonight. One of the pieces I want you to think about is that as we kind of have been traveling through the summer, I was so hopeful that heat was going to have an impact on COVID. But unfortunately, as you've seen, it hasn't really. And we're continuing to see our rates raise. I know there was like a question, I think even in the chat box about how do we know when to open, when do we open, those types of things. And we work directly with our Maricopa County Department of Public Health in coordinating as well as monitoring the COVID rates, as well as also following guidelines from Governor Ducey. And we'll talk a little bit about some of his executive orders and what those executive orders mean here in a little bit. But one of the things that I want to definitely celebrate today is that we had over 100 staff members and also community members participate in multiple committees throughout the summer, still working on the reopening so that we can ensure that we have a safe place for reopening when that time comes, and that we have thought of every single piece and component. We heard from you that the 3 options were very important. And not only was it important for our parents, but it was also important for our staff members. So that's, if you were wondering, how did we come up with those 3 options? That's kind of where we came from. They were options that were presented in the roadmap from the Department of Education. And then we wanted to survey our community to see which ones they would be interested in. And overwhelmingly, folks were interested in all 3. So that's kind of how we jumped off and jumped into that piece. So just again, thank you. And I'm going to turn it back over to Shelley as we kind of jump into getting more into the details, especially jumping into special education.
Thank you, Superintendent Gunning. Just to give our listeners an idea of what's coming next, we will talk about special education. Then we will dive into the details of learning models. And then we will talk about health and safety. So if you think you've got some specific questions for special education, please get your fingertips ready and get ready to chat into that chat box. But for now, we'll hear from our guest expert, Melissa McClone, Director of Special Education Services. She's going to offer a 2 to 3 minute overview of what special ed looks like at Litchfield in this time.
Hi, this is Melissa McComb, Director of Special Education. I'm happy to be here with all of you today and hopefully can answer some questions for you. Just to give you a little bit of overview on our special education plans rolling into the school year. We've looked at planning for each of the 3 models. Within each model, looking at the full 5-day return, we would hope to provide all services as they are in the IEP, as they were previously provided. In a hybrid model, we would be looking at providing as many services as possible, but also putting a priority on those that are most important for students and how they learn individually. So really working with families independently. You can hear me, right? Okay, someone's gonna tell me. And how we work with families individually. In the digital model, we would those that apply directly for the Digital Academy, we would look at their IEP to see if their free and appropriate public education can be served in that manner, and then address the IEP that way. And if, for instance, there are pieces of the IEP that may not be appropriate, then we would meet with those families and we will develop other plans for developing those services virtually, but separately from the Digital Academy. But still, there definitely is a virtual option of supports. Again, in that model, as well as in a full closure model, we work to provide as many services as we can and working with families in what's going to meet student needs best. And this would include our related services as well. As far as meetings, we'll continue with our digital and virtual meetings to keep our IEPs in compliance. If it's safe to have students in buildings, we'll continue with evaluations, those that may have been started in the spring or that may be waiting. We're working very hard to put in some extra precautions for our students who are medically fragile, those who may be in our specific classroom who are medically fragile, but those are also who are around the district and may need additional supports, and also those that may be in our self-contained programs who may have difficulty with wearing masks, providing further visual supports and help, as well as providing further training and supports to parents that are supporting our students at home. We know when our students have higher needs that it becomes necessary for parents to support any kind of online offering. And so we would hope to provide additional supports to parents to be able to do that in the best way possible, and to be able to continue to step up our services from the spring and give as much as we can that would be as close as we can to what our typical model would be. So I'm happy to, it's just a brief overview. I'm happy to answer any of your questions that you may put in the chat. I will be here throughout the hour and can answer those, or Superintendent Gunning may answer if she knows as well. And any we don't have, we will be working on to get at some point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Melissa McComb, Director of Special Education. We really appreciate that. Lots of questions coming in. We're going to do our best to follow along here. I'm not seeing anything specific to special ed at this point, but we're going to pause, make sure everyone has a chance to type. Right now would be the best time to type your questions specific to special ed. Meanwhile, Superintendent Gunning, is there anything that you would like to add to Director McComb's comments?
I would just like to thank our Director McCombs and all of her staff and individuals that helped to support to put together such a comprehensive plan for the opening of school for our special ed students and in meeting all of their needs. Our special ed program is highly recognized, and we actually have people move from all over the nation to come here specifically for the outstanding programs that we have within our district. So thank you, Melissa.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much. Melissa, if you would please do us the favor of typing your email address into the chat box. That way people will know how to reach you or your office, whichever email address you think is best. For anyone who has follow-up questions directly about special education services at Litchfield Elementary School District. We're going to move on with the agenda at this point. Thank you very much, Director McComb. Let's talk about a biggie. We've got a lot of questions under our learning models. So Superintendent Gunning, we've got several in the chat box. There many are related to what we already have seen through our emails in advance. So do you want to make a few opening remarks, and then we'll follow up with some specific follow-up items?
Okay, perfect. So let's kind of talk through it, and I apologize. I know that you're probably just a mixed group of folks, some who have watched all of our board meetings, and some of you have just haven't had the opportunity to do that and just have done some reading. So what we wanted to be able to do was to offer 3 models for when we're able to return to our school buildings. So one is in person, 5 days a week. The second is a hybrid model, which we kind of shared before. And then the third is an online. The goal with the online is thinking that folks that would commit for a longer period of time, or that's just something that they're really looking for possibly 6 months to a year, would be something that is of interest to them. The Digital Learning Academy, which is the online academy, will not house any traditional academy and or honors, but we guarantee that teachers will be pushing kids, and there will be a lot of opportunity for them to expand their knowledge and their learning. So with that, right now, just in general, for all three models, what we're doing now is we've taken your survey information from the last time. We just emailed commitments, but we took the initial information and our survey information from our staff. And now that's what we're doing, is trying to mirror together to see operationally what does that look like and how can we make it work. Because we knew the different models were very important to meet the needs of your families and to ensure that you felt comfort in meeting the needs of your families, because we know that there is just a variety out there. So with that being said, at this moment, I know there's lots and lots of questions about traditional academy and honors. With honors, our middle school staff is working through that. We are not sure at this time, but they're trying. So what they're doing now is to take in all of the information and to see which teachers are able to do which, and then to see if they have enough students to support that. So you can only imagine trying to balance the different needs at every single campus and to balance the needs of the kids. So they're working through that now. So there's more to come, and we will let you know once we are confidently able to say either way what that will look like. Then we will definitely let you know in that realm and in that situation. Same thing, same token happening right now with our principals in the elementary setting and traditional academy, looking to see, we don't want to say, no, it's not going to be offered. And we don't want to say yes, because we haven't been able to mirror or match. So let me give you somewhat of an example. So let's say there are 25 TA students in a classroom, but only 5 from that campus are interested in person. That would be really difficult. Of how would you then support TA if you only had 5 in that class and you need to balance out your other classes? So we are working through it, not quite sure. But what I will tell you is that you won't lose your spot. So this year is an interesting year, a year of flexibility and a year of kind of just working through each issue as it comes forward. So we're taking it step by step, and we're taking it gradually. But we would definitely keep your spot so that when we get back to our typical business, so to speak, that your spot would definitely be there for you. Unless you left the district. If you left the district and went somewhere else, then I definitely couldn't guarantee that. But if you were still here and participating in one of our models, that we would hold your TA spot. So that's something I know that's very, very important for you. Some of the other things in regard to just kind of updating you. I know it's been probably kind of confusing because our governor has been having multiple press conferences almost weekly, actually. And embedded in some of those press conferences are executive orders that tie directly to education. We had one that came out in the latter part of June, which kind of outlined the different options and gave us some flexibility so that we could fund our programs as needed during this time. The second one that came out just a little over a week and a half ago, that one stipulated that we could not physically open our school buildings until August 17th. And so that means that we can't start these 3 models until that time. So during the first week and a half, I believe it is, of school, because we're going to start August 5th, everybody will be on distance learning. Once we are able to come back into the building, that's where we'll have the 5-day model, the hybrid model, and then of course the kids online will continue just with our online learning. I want to reassure you that for the distance learning, I know last year was kind of unexpected and we just had to kind of throw ourselves into distance learning in a very quick time frame, but we've had some time to learn. Our teachers have definitely done lots of studying and they've been working super hard. And so we will have very specific structures put into place for what does distance learning look like. And those will have time frames, plus a teacher has to take attendance daily, as well as there will be grading expectations. So all of those pieces will be expected So it'll be as typical of a day in a distance fashion as possible. So we're definitely working through those pieces right now as well. In looking at like what is the time frame of your child, if you're wondering like how much time would my child be online, that will vary based on the grades. We have our littles who, of course, as you know, anyone who has a little at home, their attention span's not quite as long as our bigs. So those littles, they will be kind of having on and off time, but it would probably be approximately around 3 hours total, not in a row, with some breakup time and breakup activities too. And then those times will definitely increase all the way through middle school, which would be a more longer day with longer expectations of online expectations for those students. We'll work hand in hand with the parents. So if we start to notice that there is possibly an attendance issue with the child, those teachers will be reaching out to the parent to share and to let you know. And especially if work is not getting turned in or submitted for grading, all of those same pieces. So they'll definitely stay in contact and work directly with you. We wanted to make sure that we had this consistency that we could offer throughout our district. We did extend our start to August 5th, and we did that so we have 5 full days of training opportunity for all of our staff. And that was really important and very critical as well. So we wanted to make sure everyone had that opportunity. We have to be prepared during this next time frame of the pandemic, of knowing that we may possibly flow in and out of being able to be in a building or not being in a building. And we want to be able to do it the best we possibly can, as well as ensuring the safety of our children and the safety of our staff. I know I did see some questions in there about class sizes for in-person. In-person learning, the 5-day model will be the typical class size. And so that's kind of what it will be. The caps at each of those grade levels is what we're looking at. Now, those students will be cohorted, which means they'll stay with that group. And that includes even on the playground. They will not mix cohorts on the playground either, but we definitely want children to have some recess time and some outdoor time. So that's very, very important. So our playgrounds, the safety committee is already working on how does that rotate, so that if my cohort gets to be on a play structure, let's say on Monday, a different cohort can be on the play structure on Tuesday. And so, and then I might get the field the next day, that type of thing. So making sure that we're able to keep our cohorts together, but give them that opportunity and experience of being on the playground. And then specials will be rotating. And then in the middle school setting, they'll be cohorted within their classroom, within the team, and the teachers will rotate through. We'll definitely be doing social distancing. Face coverings will be required for our students and our staff. I know that there are always some questions about which type of face coverings, and we have to also be able to accommodate students as well as staff with any type of health risks that they may have in regards to their face covering. So you could see some face shields out there as well. And then buying lots and lots of PPE to support the classrooms within their return to school. For distance learning, one of the questions that came up is, will my child be affiliated with a homeschool? As of right now, that's what we're looking at. They'll be affiliated with a homeschool. I can't tell you if that will be exactly your homeschool, but they will be affiliated with a homeschool. And I love the question about, will my child be in a yearbook? Beautiful question. I'm highlighting that because that is something I hadn't gotten to yet and hadn't really thought about just yet, but that's a beautiful question because we want to make sure that all the opportunities that our children have for in-person, like a yearbook or something along those lines, that the Digital Learning Academy children have that opportunity as well. Once we are able to offer sports and offer sports safely, then we'll also notify our Digital Learning Academy students too, so that they have those same opportunities if that's something that they're excited about or something that they want to participate in as well. So we'll definitely work through those pieces. But as of just now, we're just not feeling comfortable with the safety aspects of sports. So we've kind of put sports a little bit on hold, same thing that we did with field trips, until we can ensure the safety of those and have all of those procedures and practices in place. Another question has definitely come about what about if I want to change? Like I started out in this model and I'm interested in this other model. We will look at changes at intervals. I would definitely always say always reach out to your principal if there is a change or a special need that has come up, because a lot of times there are special circumstances. But we're asking for intervals so that can prepare us so that we could be ready for your child in whichever model that you would be switching to. So kind of thinking that quarterly time frame is what we're looking at. That would be the time that you would reach out. I do want to put in a disclaimer that if by chance our delay of actually opening the buildings, it goes further past August 17th. And I'm sure some of you have heard about some of the other districts in the Valley already kind of making that change. I just want you to know that I know that you're doing your commitment this week. If something were to be delayed, we would definitely reach back out to you in some way to just check in that if this was a later date and now we're getting back into the building and it's a later time frame, that you really still are interested in the model that you had originally selected during this time frame. So we're prepared for that and want to be ready for that, and don't want you to worry that if you select something this week and then later in the future, you're like, oh my gosh, now I want to change. We'll reach back out to you again if time should stretch long past August 17th or longer than August 17th. The other thing is that hopefully a lot of you know and have, in that initial survey, you had the opportunity to notify us if you were in need of technology. If you are in need and you didn't fill it out in the last one, you can feel free to reach out directly to your school campus. And then we will disperse technology accordingly, and it will be based on need, and it will be at your campus site and your campus location. So don't hesitate to reach out to your principals for that. Transportation was something that got a little confusing, and I know Shelley mentioned earlier that we kind of pulled it off the models a little bit. So I wanted to add clarity because it was getting confusing for some folks that were on open enrollment and out of the district, and then with the hybrid model and those types of things. We are planning, if you have, we're planning on transportation for any 5-day in-person. So if you're a typical student rides the bus, then and the 5-day in-person is the model that you're selecting, then transportation absolutely will be provided. If you are a hybrid student and that is your homeschool and your homeschool can offer that hybrid model, transportation will also be offered. What we're working on, and we're really not sure if operationally we could do it, is that we are not positive, and we're still, again, going through all of the numbers. You can only imagine there's 12,000 students in our district, so trying to balance them with all of the teachers. We're not sure if, say, for example, a hybrid model was not able to be offered in 2nd grade at Dreaming Summit, but it was able to be offered at Barbara Roby in 2nd grade. Would transportation be available for that? So we're still working through those other details, but I can definitely tell you to your own home campus, for those 2 models, you can definitely seek transportation just like you typically would for that. I know there was also a question that was in the chat box that I wanted to kind of link back to in regards to the executive order from the governor. How we came up, one of the pieces about the 5-day model too is that in the executive order, it said that you had to provide a safe place for students to go during the day. And so within that first executive order, that's where that 5-day model comes into play. With him having the second executive order right now, where he says school buildings are closed, we are still working through what can actually be offered. We know that our summer camps that we currently have can continue on of where we have them, but we're not sure, and we're getting clarity from our legal counsel on if any of that can be expanded. But want to reassure you that when we are able to come back to our buildings, if you're needing a safe place for your child to go, the 5-day learning model is your model, and will work really well for you. I think that's all that I have.
We have a ton of questions on this section, and we also have a lot of follow-up questions to Melissa McComb And we've got about 15 minutes left. So Melissa, I know you read some of those in our chat box. If you could talk about when will parents be hearing about their IEP? Will parents receive daily feedback on their students' classwork? I'm seeing a question about IEP versus 504 accommodations. And also in your self-contained autism classes, will teachers be familiar with these students? Are they the students' regular teachers, or will students somehow be working with teachers who are unfamiliar with them?
So I've written down some of those questions just to make sure that I can give attention to them at a later time also, but to give you kind of the quick answers would be the teachers would not be reaching out until after we have gotten back the commitments, so we know how many students are going to be in each model. It would likely be during that first week, either before school starts or right as school starts. We also have to coordinate with the general education schedule, so it does take a little bit of planning, but we'll be making sure to reach out to you as soon as possible. As far as staffing, for instance, in the autism classroom, where if they'll have someone familiar, our hope would be that they would have someone familiar working with them online. It may get a little different when we know enrollment, if we need to shift children around to have the online, the hybrid, the home. While everyone is home, it would definitely be your student, and then it may shift as we shift into those 3 models, but our hope is to keep them with as familiar as possible. As far as the IEPs versus the 504s, those 504 accommodations would be covered through the schools, and typically they should be able to be covered in line with what's being offered. May need to be reviewed, for instance, in the Digital Academy to see if they're appropriate, but they would be reviewed. Iep Progress was a question. That question, we will collect as much data as we can in a virtual or digital model. Maybe it may include parent support. It may include the student sitting to the computer if they're able. It may include students participating in an online or virtual academic setting, such as our Moby Max program, something that online takes that digital data. It's gonna be different again for each student's needs. As far as feedback on the classwork, again, that would come through the case manager. So that would be working with them on what does the child's IEP look like and what are going to be the needs in place, and doing the best to meet those needs. But yes, we would like to be giving feedback on those assignments and making sure that we're able to gauge if students are making progress and having the assistance they need, or if they need more. And then there was a question about developmental preschool as far as staffing and safety. And supplies. Again, some of that's going to depend on, once we know enrollment, how many of those students will be coming to a classroom, and then we'll look at what our current staffing is. And keeping in mind that developmental preschoolers, any preschoolers, are going to have more closeness than other students, and that's going to be something that families will probably have to weigh as to their own safety and their own personal decisions. So I can't really weigh into that, except to say that there's not a way to keep preschoolers completely with their own supplies, completely to themselves, completely, we will do our best. We'll be doing lots of hand washing, lots of supply washing, have areas where we have small groups of children, no more than 5 in an area is what we've looked at. So there's a lot of things that go into it, but really we'll know more too when we look at how many are coming to the classroom. I think that I answered the ones that I saw. I did see something about Read 180 also. That's returning in our middle school resource model. We have our training next week, and they will be, the trainers from Houghton Mifflin will be going over with us the best ways to meet our student needs in all 3 models. And so we are working on that directly from the company based on the research that they have, and then we will be addressing it and planning it from there. I put my email in the chat, so if there's anything else, I don't want to take too much time, but you're welcome to email questions, and myself or our assistant director, Kate Tram, will get back to you as soon as we're able.
Thank you very much, Director McComb. We really appreciate that. Let's move on. We've got some more questions about the learning models category. And to clarify, distance learning school begins August 5th. Other than those first 2 days, our school calendar is not impacted at this point. We will keep you posted if that changes. Superintendent Gunning, can you please talk about specials in the rooms, what recess might look like, and also computers and Wi-Fi for students in need.
Okay, perfect. Specials in the room. So I'm going to leave it up to our amazing special area teachers to come up with some really creative ideas. And they will rotate through the classrooms to be able to provide those specials. Now, what will be a little bit different is in the middle school setting. I know a lot of times that's an exciting part of the end of the school year is to select your special. But unfortunately, during this time, we have to have it very structured, and we need to cohort for safety for your children and safety for staff. So they'll just have the specials that they have. When the weather gets better, we'll probably start seeing a lot of our PE coaches doing activities outside, and because it's easy to socially distance, and then you have a lot of fresh air. And then again, kind of what I spoke to earlier, definitely having providing recess opportunities. It will be very scheduled. And as far as we have to make sure our cohorts stay together, like one cohort, they can't intermix cohorts. So they will be together so that they're not like just all first grade intermixing on the playground, so to speak. So they'll have their designated play area on the playground. Just so you know too, if when they rotate through the play structure, after that cohort leaves, and let's say that whole group then goes inside, we will be spraying down the play structures. We have a disinfectant that we can spray the play structures after each cohort actually plays on them. In regards to technology and Wi-Fi, we will be providing information on discounted Wi-Fi. And as far as technology, just make sure to reach out to your principal. If you did put it on that initial survey, the schools, just so you know, the principals just got back after their summer break. So they'll be gearing up, and you'll probably have a front office person reach out to you to confirm the technology that you listed and the need, and then we'll schedule time for you to pick it up. So I know that some folks were worried because too, they had multiple children. So if you haven't reached out, feel free to reach out to your principals and just list the technology that you need for your campus.
What about?
Or for your child, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Can you speak to AZ Merit briefly?
So AZ-M2, we are not sure. The legislature is the body that would determine on whether state testing would take place this year. So I'm not sure. We won't know until they kind of get back into session of if AZ-M2 would be in place. So it's kind of a wait and see on that one. What we do know is that the governor in his last executive order did give us a little bit of time frame for our benchmark testing. A lot of you know that we do a lot of our own assessments. And so we will be conducting those once we're back in person within 6 weeks of the return. And then we will work out what that assessment will look like. The online teachers will also work out with those families too on what would work best for them for taking that assessment as well.
Good. Thank you. And here is a really important question. Is the curriculum the same for all 3 learning models?
The curriculum is the same for all 3 learning models. I mean, the only thing I have to give a caveat to is, of course, we have traditional academy. So if we're able to do traditional academy, either in the hybrid or in person, that's the curriculum that they use. But for Digital Learning Academy, it is our viable and guaranteed curriculum that is approved by our district. So if a student is in online and then comes back to a 5-day in-person, they'll be in the primary grades using our Wonders curriculum for ELA. And the math would be the same. So yes, so that we have that consistency. And what we are doing is providing with that training and all of the support so that even the teachers, our thought was we wanted to make sure that teachers had everything that they needed so that even if they were in person or having to go to distance learning, they had all the resources and tools readily available at their fingertips so that we also then have that consistency as well.
Thank you very much. Can you speak to siblings maybe with different learning models, or is there a hybrid learning model where all of the siblings have the same schedule, like the same 2 days at school?
Oh, I see. haven't got that far yet. We'd probably try. I know one of the things that we did discuss before was definitely doing it kind of by last name in that cohort. So like, I'm sure, I know this probably sounds foreign to some people, but if you're interested in the hybrid model, you probably are aware of it, an A-B schedule. So that we would try to cohort so that you did have consistency, especially if you had bigs and littles, so that way it's easier to manage for sure. Also, just as a plug and kind of letting you all know, our school times are the same. We did not change any school times. So your school time for your elementary campus that you were used to, if it was Dreaming Summit or Litchfield or Mabel, those times are exactly the same, as well as for the middle schools.
Obviously, we're super tight on time. We want to continue to ask you to put questions in the chat box. We put updated FAQs on our website tonight. We will update them again after our town halls. Please keep in contact with your questions. This is not your only opportunity to get your questions answered. We're going to move on from learning models. We're going to extend our hour by about 5-ish minutes to address some really important questions about health and safety. We're going to go straight to the questions direct from this room in our chat box. We've got someone wanting to check their student out at lunchtime and eat lunch in the car. Is that allowed?
Well, of course, you could always check your student out. I mean, that's just something you can do as a parent. So yes, I mean, we won't hold your child if you need to check them out. I mean, I don't, you know, it'd be the same if you had a dental appointment or a doctor's appointment, you would come in, follow protocol. The front offices are setting that up right now so that they can ensure social distancing as you're signing your child out. But yes.
Thank you. Can you please clarify what we're talking about with face coverings? You have to wear a mask and a face shield. What about the N95 face masks? Are those required?
N95 are not required. Most folks are using like a cloth face mask. We also have purchased some disposables so that if a family doesn't have them, or if a child comes and they don't have one, that we will have extras available for them. We also will have face shields available too for any student that has any type of a special need or a health condition that would require that too. Also trying to look at different, you know, pieces. It's going to be trying to figure out how to teach littles how to read if their mouths are covered and our teachers' mouths are covered, because part of that phonics learning is also looking at the mouth. So being able to safely have a child safe and a teacher safe, but also having those opportunities so they can actually see. But a face shield and a mask would not be, you could do the face cloth mask covering would be sufficient.
What about masks at their desks?
Masks at their desks, that's a good question. A lot of that will be depending on if we can socially distance. So that could be the difference in a hybrid model. In a hybrid model, you're on it's one classroom of, let's say, 30 kids, but 15 go on A day and 15 go on B day, or whatever the number is of your classroom. So very well could be potentially be able to socially distance them enough of that 6 feet where they could remove their face mask. If it's less than 6 feet of their desk, then yes, they would be asked to wear their face masks while sitting at their desk. But we also will provide opportunities and want to have different opportunities where children will be able to socially distance so they can remove their face mask throughout the day.
Thank you. We've got working parents who think it might be tough to stay at the bus stop with their child until the bus arrives. What would you like to say about that?
I think that will be tough. I mean, what I would say is try to do the best that you can, and also help in educating your child, and then make friends with maybe other parents that'll be at the bus stop. That could help to support in monitoring and helping kids to socially distance. But I know, I think that it's hard. It is definitely hard, but that's a great question.
Thank you. A previous question was about parent surveys. We've got 2 surveys. One is already up on our website, and we're in the process of getting the second one up. So those are coming so that you can see the specific results. They're fascinating. So we hope that you'll check those out. And those will be up tonight. So by tomorrow morning, you'll be able to see those.
And our percentages were a little different than probably what you might have thought. Our percentages were about 42% in person, 33% hybrid, and I believe it was like 22% online. So pretty balanced groupings of choices.
Thank you. Clarification about computers. Your point person at this point would be your principal. There was a question about that in a previous survey. Those families are already on that list, and if you need to be on that list, please contact your principal. We're saying that we will resume in-person learning when it is deemed safe. Can you please speak to that?
So what we'll be doing is definitely tapping into all of our local resources. So working hand in hand with the Maricopa County Department of Health in monitoring also the rates of the COVID rates. Are they increasing? Are they going down? What are we seeing? What are we seeing with it, even within our community, to then determine if it's safe? The other part is also the whole staff component. I know it's what we would all love to do, and I can't tell you how much I wish every day that we could just be back to our typical time of going back to school in a typical setting. We wish for it daily. We all miss our children, and that's been the hardest part. And the other piece that I think folks sometimes forget is that, yes, we might have a class or a school of 6 to 1,000 kids in that school, but we also then have a lot of adults that work in the school. So I know a lot of times you'll hear, well, children don't pass it, or children, you know, those kind of things. But I always have to remember too, I have over 75 to over 100 adults working in a school every day, and I have to ensure their safety as well. And wanting to also provide a learning environment that's enjoyable too, along with all the safety protocols needed.
Thank you. Can you speak to the communication methods if there's a case of COVID positive in a classroom or on a campus?
So I know that you heard, and I know that we're kind of running short on time. We haven't even had a chance to hear Nurse Becca speak, but Nurse Becca is working with an entire committee, kind of working on all of those specific pieces. And she'll be training actually this week our principals, and she'll be training every single nurse in our district so that we have very systematic protocols for that. So if a child or a staff member, if somebody was tested positive for COVID, you would be notified if your child was exposed. So then that way you have that information, and that will help you into making decisions as well. The other piece with that we also do, and we do this, and you probably may not have known this, but we do this for other conditions as well, is we work hand in hand with Maricopa County Department of Health, and we would take their lead and their guidance. So they'll also guide us based on what the situation is, of whether a classroom needs to be shut down, or in you know, the folks there quarantined, or a grade level, or an entire campus. So something that you may see in the future is that we could get back to some type of typical normalcy. And then something could happen where maybe one school or one campus might have to shut down during that time frame. So, but we'd work hand in hand, and the Department of Health has been phenomenal in providing us resources. They sit down with us and help us to talk through situations, and to kind of just help us think through all of the protocol that's necessary and needed.
Thank you very much. Nurse Becca is on the line, our district lead nurse. Nurse Becca, could you chime in on this important topic, please?
Sure, yes. I just want to focus on the training that Jody mentioned. We've already started a committee with some of the other nurses in the district, and have been reviewing Maricopa County suggestions and guidelines, and implementing those in the new health protocol that you'll see on the website. In more detail, the nurses will be trained before school starts, and in these new health guidelines. And yeah, I've been in close communication with the Maricopa County lead nurse, and she's been contacting me directly on a weekly basis.
Thank you very much. We are so tight on time. Thank you everyone for your patience. We really appreciate it. I want to assure you that we will be updating our frequently asked questions based on the items that you offered in the chat room today. We just updated them an hour ago, and it's time to update them again. This process helps us know what you are looking for, so we will be continuing to update those frequently, especially because right now we will be sending our commitment forms to you tonight. We will be sending an email to all families in our district this evening and asking for you to return your commitment form by Friday. So I know you've still got some questions, and we will work to keep more information coming your way this week to help you answer your important question, which is your child's commitment to their learning model. However, before we close with some final remarks from Superintendent Gunning, I'm going to enter an email in the chat box. This is what you will want to email if you are not receiving our district-wide emails that come from our mass notification system. So please contact this email if you need help. Our last message went out July 8th. If you didn't get that, that means we don't have a good email address for you. So contact this parent view email address. With that, thank you everyone for your time. We will review all of these questions thoroughly and continue to answer them. Please continue emailing the COVID account, and we will respond personally. Meanwhile, Superintendent Gunning, can you offer us some closing remarks, please?
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming, and I know there's quite a few questions in the chat box, and we will definitely try to get to all of those. And then don't, like Shelly mentioned, don't hesitate to reach out to send any further questions, especially if you have some personal ones that you really want answered, because then we can connect you directly to your principal to kind of talk through. I know there were like questions about, you know, my child was potentially supposed to go up to the high school for math, all those things that we're trying to work through right now, that they will be able to answer those more specifically as we try to work through each of the different situations. I want to thank you so much for your patience, for your support, and we will do absolutely the best that we can. We love your children, and we're so grateful that they're a part of our school family. And thank you again. I can't thank you enough. And wishing you all well, and hoping that you stay healthy and safe as we travel through this very unique landscape that is ever changing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.